Hi, this is Bob Dittmer, and welcome to Explorations in Public Relations. In this short series of video presentations, we explore and illuminate the practice and the profession of public relations. And today we're going to talk about health communication. And our guest today is Stephanie Tortorici from Edelman. Stephanie, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, kind of give us a frame of reference. What do you do at Edelman?
Sure. Well, Edelman is the largest independent public relations agency in the world. And when I say independent, that means that Richard Edelman and his dad, Dan Edelman, still show up every day at work, and they're the ones who run the company. And we are a public relations and engagement company. Mm-hmm. We're located in 58 cities around the world. We have about 5,500 employees. And I work in the health division. We have a number of different divisions. We have a consumer division, technology, food, nutrition, and health. And I work in health. And health is about a third of our business. So it's a pretty big piece of Edelman.
That is a huge piece of the business.
Yes.
Now, you used a magic word in public relations. We use it a lot these days. I'm not sure everybody really understands it, and that's the word engagement.
Sure.
Can you talk about how Edelman looks at the concept of engagement in the modern era?
Sure, absolutely. Yes, engagement is the top word. We don't own it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people talk about engagement, and I think there's a number of different definitions about what engagement means. And how we look at engagement at Edelman is participation. Mm-hmm. And we talk about public engagement, and that's meaningfully engaging in a connected world. And so the bottom line is that we don't work in isolation anymore. Right. It's not one-on-one communications and or mass communications. It's connectiveness, and it's personal. And so it can mean a lot of things depending on what you're working on, right, or what client you're looking at, but it's basically being part of a conversation.
And you spend most of your time in the healthcare arena. So
yes.
What does that mean in the healthcare arena? What is unique about the healthcare arena in terms of engagement?
Sure.
And how would, to put it in a vernacular, how would I recognize engagement if it hit me?
Sure. Well, engagement, in the old days, when we talked about communications and public relations, it was basically a health company, and a lot of the companies we work with are pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, insurance, medical associations. It's those organizations talking to you, sharing announcements, explaining when a new drug is approved, those type of things. Now, we still do those things. I mean, sharing news is very important, and it's a matter of public record and whatnot.
But it's also very one way, isn't it?
It's still very one way.
Yeah.
However, so here's where it's different. Let's say I'm working for a pharmaceutical company, the FDA approves a new drug. You make that announcement. Well, the way we make the announcement is different now. You still put your news release out over the wire, you post it on your website, etc., but it becomes alive on the internet. It becomes alive with reporters. People are blogging about it. People have an opinion about it. And so before, you shared your news, a reporter reported it, maybe got a couple other points of view, and that was your story. Now everyone has an opinion, everyone has something to say, and so beyond making that announcement then, it's what else are you going to do and how else are you going to participate in this conversation and make it meaningful.
And one of the things that's brought that on is not just the internet, but the phenomenon of social media, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Because it's allowed for this dialogue to take place that really didn't take place before.
Absolutely. It's the citizen journalist effect.
Sure.
is what's happening. Give an example. A new drug is approved. Reporters will write about it, but all of a sudden you maybe have a mom whose child is affected by this disease, and she has an opinion on it, and she has a very active blog, and so she may say something. And reporters are reading blogs, and they may read something and talk to that person. And so all of a sudden you have people who aren't necessarily what you would call experts having an opinion, and you need to be prepared. Two things. One is you need to see what's going on. So we're much more engaged in terms of watching what the conversations are, but then trying to figure out how you're going to participate in that, because stories will take on a life of their own. And so the definition of ownership of a story is different these days, and stories don't go away. They last forever, but they happen very quickly. And so engagement is not just sending out the news release and going home at 5 o'clock at night. It's watching the internet then for the next 24 hours to see what people are saying about it.
And it almost brings us full circle back to something we did in the era of Socrates and Plato, and that is to remember that part of the communication process is to listen.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and we like to say at Edelman, listen intelligently. So it's not just listening, but understanding motivation, understanding purpose, and being prepared to address those issues. And I actually have a little cheat sheet here, but when we're talking about participating, one of those behaviors is listen with intelligence. But a couple of others that I think are most meaningful is co-creation of content. And that, and again, I'm going to use the example from a pharmaceutical company. You announced that a new drug is approved. Big deal. The people who are affected or who this impacts, you need to work with them in terms of making it meaningful and understandable to folks. And so you're working with people, like I said, who may not necessarily be an expert in terms of creating that, in terms of that content. And it's all about building relationships. Your success these days, your reputation is based on relationships and how you interact with all of your stakeholders, not just your customers or the user of your product, but influencers, thought leaders, opinion makers, things like that.
So as you were sitting here at a university that teaches public relations with the emphasis on the word relations, but what would be your short message to young juniors and seniors as they look out into the world and they are preparing themselves for this engaged world of public relations?
Sure. Well, I think the good news is they don't know the old world. So they've grown up in this new world. And so this concept of engagement is part of their everyday lives. It's their Facebook and their Twitter and all of that work that they're doing. So I think it's built into them. And really what's interesting about that is that they're bringing this new knowledge to us. I'm not that old, but I will tell you that I come from a little bit of the older school, and we've got all these younger folks that are coming in that this is just the way they operate, and so they don't even think about it differently. And I think maybe where they may get frustrated is that especially in some regulated industries like healthcare, they want to do a lot more and they just can't. So their challenge is to be creative, is to think, be solution oriented. So I think that if they are students and people who participate, who actively participate, understand the value of it, understand the benefit, but also the downfalls. There's danger in all of this, and it's really uncharted territory. I think they will find great. They will just find great joy in working in public relations and engagement, because again, public relations is not what it used to be. It's not writing a pitch letter, calling a reporter and hoping to place a story and counting impressions. It's a lot more of engaging in relationship building, and they're just really good at that. And understanding how that can be that can help meet business objectives.
Good, that sounds very positive for young people.
It is, and I will tell you that in today's day and age, in terms of where the jobs are and where credibility lies, there's great opportunity within public relations. Advertising, marketing, sales, all very, very important pieces of the mix, absolutely. But they're the ones that are the most challenged in these tough economic times, in times of demanded transparency. And public relations and the way good, solid public relations and engagement happen are very transparent. And I think that smart companies and smart organizations that get that put value in public relations and bring on strategic partners that can really help them navigate those waters, because there's just great benefit. And so I think anyone who's interested in engagement in public relations, it's a very interesting time. And I think looking beyond just traditional public relations and really in more of these engagement type of work will be very fulfilling.
Engagement and transparency.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Kind of the watchwords these days.
They are, and I think that these are standards for business now. I mean, this is the way business operates, and to have that skill set and the expertise, will really position students to do well. Still need to be a good writer. Still need to understand about key messages. I mean, it's all about sound bites these days. Absolutely. And when we're hiring people, we want really strong writers. We still do the writing tests, because you want people with that basic knowledge. But the folks who are really blowing us away and are becoming great assets to us are those that understand the digital world and the social world, those that speak different languages, those that have a more global perspective. Almost all of our clients now are looking globally. U.S. health insurance companies are looking how to grow globally. And I think students that have that that experience and expertise are just, they're very attractive to a company like Edelman.
Excellent. Stephanie, strong messages. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I think, public relations is a great career choice. And I, like I say, I think students will find it very fulfilling.
I'm hoping they will.
Yeah, great. great.
Thanks.
Thank
and
you.
thank you for joining us today on Explorations in Public Relations. We've been talking about engagement and transparency and a few other things. So interesting conversations. Join us again for future episodes of Explorations in Public Relations.